We're going to give an update on the motorcycle. As you can see, it's sitting right here. It is in pieces. So we'll give you a quick update on that. Here we go. So as you can see, and as you heard in the other video, we did take the engine out. I do have it sitting over here. Dylan had said that him and his friend had tried to do a valve adjustment on it to increase horsepower. Typical men. And something didn't quite go right, and afterwards the engine just said enough was enough, called it quits. There was coolant in the oil, so not sure what the issue is, if it can be fixed or if the engine's just junk. I've heard that these are a pain in the ass to rebuild, so it's usually cheaper just to buy a used one than it is to rebuild an old one. You can pick them up online for about $500-600 running, so it's not that bad. We do have the exhaust sitting over here. I hate the 2 muffler exhaust. I would love to try to find a 2 into 1. They actually sold, or I should say they actually sold. The Ninja 250 has a very similar exhaust that goes from 2 to 1, right about there, and then it's just one side exhaust. That does fit the Ninja 500 as far as I'm aware. I could be mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But this also like $200 just for the exhaust. I don't really feel like spending that much money on one part on this bike. This is going to be a learner bike after all. It's going to be kind of a budget bike, so I'm trying to stay cheap. And I'll show you what I mean by staying cheap. But if I can find basically someone to cut that side off and then turn in the pipe over here to this side, then I'd have one-sided exhaust. I would change the piping out, the remaining pipe, and of course a different muffler, but then I'd have a completely different exhaust. It does have, I don't know what these mufflers are called, but they're not the factory ones. The factory ones are about this long. These obviously are a little shorter, so that's the exhaust. Onto the bike itself, I did take off the handlebars today. Yesterday, technically, I did post them for sale. I have sold the mirrors off of it. I also sold the rear fairings off of here to one guy off of Facebook. I hope he enjoys them. But I am going to order some aftermarket handlebars with risers. I'm going to do something slightly different than the way that normal people put them on, so we'll have to see how that works. I did get a new seat. The old seat is... Where's the old seat? The old seat's over here. There's the old seat. It's a little torn up. It's also posted for sale. If somebody wants it, hit me up. But I did get a new seat. This seat is off of an 89 Ninja 500, and as you can see, it sits a little lower. The sides of the seat come down more compared to the factory one here on the 2003. So it covers up more of that underspace, which is something I like. I do think I'll probably try to fabricate up some sort of fiberglass or paneling or something to cover up this kind of space right here, but I'm not quite sure yet. Other than that, the only real OEM other part that I want, other than the engine, is the lower fairing. I do like the way the lower fairing looks, so I am trying to find one of those. There was a guy on Facebook that had a whole bunch of parts. He was supposed to give me a quote for shipping for the lower fairing, the overflow tank, but I never heard back from him, so we'll wait to see on that. Over here, excuse me, over here, I do have new dog bones, as they're called, and a rear shock. These are both off of a 250. The reason why I'm doing that is they are supposed to raise up the back end a little bit, which will help with squatting. I'm a pretty hefty guy. I weigh about 250. I'm 6'3", so the factory shock really isn't meant for me. So I got the dog bones to raise up the rear, and the shock is supposed to raise it up just slightly, but it's also supposed to be a little bit stiffer to give a little bit better ride quality for heavier drivers. I am going to do new springs in the front forks as well. Progressive Springs, they run about $100. I'm willing to spend the money on that because that is handling, which is also safety, and it's also going to be comfort as well. So that's what I have right now. The list of parts I have coming in, like I said, I will be getting the aftermarket handlebars. I haven't ordered those yet. I'm waiting to actually sell the factory ones so I can then buy the aftermarket ones. But I do have an aftermarket speedometer coming in. I do have headlights and taillights coming in right now as well. Those are what I'm currently waiting for. The factory taillight, I just can't stand. It's ugly, but it's also just kind of wedged in there. It's wedged in there pretty good, but you can still pull it out. So I am going with a different style of taillight, something that I think looks a little bit better. I'm actually, again, staying cheap. I looked up, again, staying cheap. I looked at stuff on Amazon as well as eBay. I compared, I read the reviews to see which parts might be good parts, which ones might not be. I ended up going with I'm going to call it like a GTR style tail light. Basically two circular pieces. It's actually one piece, but it's got a two look. Doing the same thing in the front with the headlights. I'm going with dual headlights. They are, I think, 3.5 or 4.5 inch wide circular headlights, so those should look pretty cool. Again, we're going for like that Street Fighter kind of cruiser look on this bike. I'm not really a sports bike person. I like sports bike. I like sports bikes. I have a lot of respect for what they can do and how capable they are. But I know me, I'm one of those guys. I like to drive fast and I like to drive cautiously, but at the same time a little recklessly. And I know that if I got something actually super fast, I'd kill myself. So I'm going to stick to this platform for a while, and then we'll see about upgrading later. But I do need to finish cleaning up the bike. I'm going to put some touch-up paint over here. The front end of the bike is kind of a wishy-wash. The back end of the frame is actually a flat black, whereas the front end of the bike, whoever had sprayed the tank got some overspray on the frame and everything else up here. So I'm going to be repainting that to cover that up, as well as some of this rust and the other spaces. But the front portion of the bike here is actually a gloss or semi-gloss black. And that to me is just, I can't have two different blacks on the same piece. So I'm going to end up respraying from about here forward with flat black to match the rear, because I don't feel like really taking apart the rear. So that's something that we'll be doing here soon, probably within the next week or so. We'll get that repainted. I don't know if I'm going to do spray paint or try to hand paint it. I would like to just do spray just because it's easy, but if I have to hand paint it, I will, just because I don't feel like removing absolutely everything from the bike. I just want to tuck away some stuff, get stuff out of the way, and then paint it. But that's where we're at right now. Like I said, still waiting on some parts to come in. Still got to figure out the engine to get it running. Once I am painting these just to help protect them. Once they are dried, they will be going on the bike. The old ones will be coming off, and then those will be for sale as well. I did get, with the dog bones, I did get the 250. I don't know what this is called, but this is off of 250 as well as the bolts. So I will be more than likely posting those for sale as well, just because I don't need them. They're not going to fit on this bike. That's the update I got. I can't wait to get this thing running. It is springtime in Texas, so it does typically mean a lot of rain and hail and tornadoes and stuff like that. But actual bike riding season is right around the corner. It's good weather some days, so you can certainly go out. So hopefully I can get this up and running and we can go have some wonderful rides on the bike in beautiful weather. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the next one.